Coast to Coast Challenge. In a couple of years, Dickies Arena will be hosting a women's regional. So we've got a great showdown here, giving a little taste of the future with what we've got here tonight in the present. Number 3, South Carolina, the defending national champs. And TCU, they start out the day with the highest ranking in school history, and they are looking for a 3rd ranked win already of this short season. Hi, everybody, and welcome courtside. I'm Beth Mowens. She's Stephanie White. Not our first rodeo, not their first rodeo either, but it is in a lot of ways for TCU in this kind of environment with this opponent tonight.
It absolutely is. They have been the surprise, as you mentioned, of the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship so far. And now you're taking on another national champion, certainly in South Carolina. But what an opportunity for a measuring stick for TCU here tonight.
South Carolina already with 1 loss on the season, but they're battle-tested, including a win midweek against Duke when Chloe Kitts was exceptional.
Well, Chloe Kitts has been outstanding for South Carolina. Her 3rd double-double of the season. She's a player who worked really hard in the weight room to get stronger. She knew she was going to have an opportunity in an expanded role this season, and she is taking full advantage of it. Dawn Staley said she is a dog. She is a relentless worker. She has been the heartbeat of this team thus far.
And she'll be taking on a really good TCU team that features one of the best combos in all of basketball in Sedona Prince and Haley Van Lith.
Well, it's exactly what you want if you're Mark Campbell and you want to run a pick and roll offense. You want the point guard and you want the post player. And Haley Van Lith has been playing unbelievably on the offensive end of the floor. She's scoring the basketball at a high clip. She's 5th in the nation in assist to turnover ratio. Her decision making has been timely. And Sedona Prince locking down the paint, leading the nation in blocks. She has been efficient. She has been effective on both ends of the floor, putting up some big numbers.
And those are the numbers for this duo, both averaging close to 20 a game. Van Lith, the best passing numbers of her career. Prince also rebounds and blocks shots. Top shot blocker in the country will be a big challenge in the paint for South Carolina, a team accustomed to having the advantage inside. That won't necessarily be the case here tonight. It is the gold standard, South Carolina, their 60th game featuring 2 top 10 teams. Dawn Staley, 42-17. And it is the very first time in this position for TCU.
And Mark Campbell talked to us about that. It's the first time we've been in this type of environment during the week. So much excitement surrounding his team. Wanted to try to keep them locked in and focused.
Already with wins over NC State and Notre Dame. And Van Lith's first shot will come up short. Kitts with the rebound. Both coaches stress the importance of getting on the glass tonight. South Carolina at this end, one of the best in the business on the offensive glass. And the turnover there on the pass by Fagan inside looking for Kitts.
Well, South Carolina is a team that's been looking to start in the interior early, get the ball in the paint, get some post touches.
Here's a look at the starting lineups brought to you by USLBM. It's not just Van Lith and Prince, it's also Madison Connor, who's one of the best 3-point shooters in the game. So that's their 3-headed monster. And the jumper is good from Taylor Bigsby for 3.
And when you have a combination like Van Lith and Sedona Prince in that 2-man game, the hard dive sucks the weak side, and that opens up wide open looks. Bigsby knocks it down.
There's the USLBM starting lineup for South Carolina. That also features Tahina Pau. Honorable mention All-American last year, enjoying her best season. Started out at Oregon playing for TCU head coach Mark Campbell when he was an assistant there. He had a big hand in her recruitment, and now on opposite sides. And that's where Prince has really set herself apart from a lot of bigs. At 6'7", Stephanie, hard to contest her jumpers.
Yeah, her ability to pick and pop, her ability to get into the short roll. And when think about South Carolina, they've got a lot of different post players that they can bring in to defend her. So they would try to body her down low. So utilizing that pick and pop a lot this evening.
Yeah, she does not want to get into a physical matchup with 3 or 4 different post players with a lot of fouls to give. And there's an over the back foul called on Fagan. Dawn Staley now in her 25th year as a head coach, 17 of those with South Carolina, featuring the 3 national championships, including last year when they went undefeated, the 5th program ever to do that. and to beat Iowa and Caitlin Clark for the championship. The same group that had knocked them out in the Final Four the year prior to that.
Yeah, get the switch, take advantage of that.
Oh, and Prince missed the gimme. Bree Hall off the bounce. Wide open look for Raven Johnson. Those are the shots that Dawn Staley needs her to start knocking down. Her field goal percentages have been way off from what they were a year ago.
Yeah, only shooting 20% on the season from the three-point line. She doesn't hesitate right there, and that's a good sign for South Carolina.
Donovan Hunter. Pow doesn't let her get back to the middle of the floor. And now coming off the handoff, high off the window for the sophomore out of Medford, Oregon, who transferred in from Oregon State. All new starters the last 2 years, 4 of them coming in this year out of the transfer portal for Mark Campbell.
12 transfers added to this program in the last 2 years, 6 and 6. And Mark Campbell said we wanted to get old and we wanted to get talent. And the best way to do that was get in the portal.
And that's how you win fast in this new day and age. There's a look at Mark. Last year, 13 more wins than the year prior. That was the best improvement for a first-year coach in the power leagues a year ago. And they are going to push the limit this year with a healthy team and a deep team. They have never had more than 25 wins, never been to the Sweet 16. You got to think those numbers might be in jeopardy this time around.
When you think about how difficult it is when you're bringing in so many new players, so many transfers to really merge and build chemistry, and these guys are so seasoned. Haley Van Lith, Sedona Prince, they're so seasoned. They've got this experience. It's almost like putting together a professional team, right?
Yeah.
They come in, they understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. They're much more mature at this stage in their career and sacrificing for the team.
Van Lith lost her footing, had to give it up. Of course, for Haley, she's very familiar with playing South Carolina. This will be the 4th time in her career after her stops at Louisville and then at LSU last season. Here's Bree Hall.
Good D.
Johnson back to Kitts. Denied the drive. Pow got Prince in the air with the ball fake. Couldn't get it down, and then she gets the rebound and looking for the assist, and another missed gimme. Pow, a 4th chance, and they get it. Relentless on the offensive glass.
And defensive rebounding was a concern. I mean, South Carolina, one of the best in the country at 18 offensive rebounds a ball game. Got to be disciplined in your ability to make contact.
Prince with Watkins defending. Hunter front rims that one. Raven Johnson with her head up. Not a team that relies a lot on their three-point shooting. Really good off the bounce to get into the lane where Prince could be a problem tonight. Van Lith able to knock it loose. Kitts rips it away. And another missed bunny. Out of bounds to TCU.
That's that relentless mentality that Chloe Kitts has. Both coaches talked about it. Mark Campbell talked about it. Dawn Staley talked about it. She's going to continue to pursue the basketball. Unfortunately, South Carolina not able to come up with a bucket. If you remember, Chloe Kitts was an early enrollee.
Yep.
So her freshman year, played part of the year, didn't get a lot of playing time, didn't get a lot of experience. Last year, a little bit more, and really took ownership of getting herself in the weight room, getting stronger, training like a pro, and you're seeing the benefits of it.
I don't know if it's nerves or what, but the layups are hard to come by right now.
And neither of these teams got an opportunity to shoot in this arena prior to about, 45 minutes before the ball game.
Yeah. This is the 3rd game of a triple header here today. A couple of men's games this afternoon. That was a rapid fire 5 minutes. I think that's our first whistle. And a 9-7 South Carolina lead. Insurance for smart people. Now the ring ceremony the other day for South Carolina, their 3rd national championship in the last 7 years. Oh, there you go, there's the 3 stones right there. Well done by the Gamecocks.
Those
Coming in,
nice.
They do, very sharp. coming in at 8-1, ranked number 3 in the country. And playing another difficult schedule, already have racked up wins against NC State and Duke. They'll play UConn later in the year. They will play Texas twice in SEC play this season. And there's a possibility, depending on how the rankings shuffle throughout the season, that they could play 15 games. Half of their schedule could be against ranked teams this year.
It's incredible, the schedule that Dawn Staley and her staff have put together, the challenges that they've set themselves up for. And she talked about that UCLA matchup earlier in the season and just how they got exposed. And UCLA certainly played really well, but what this team has to take from that and understand that they have a target on their back. They've got to be ready to play every night.
Watkins with a nice pass from Fulwiley after Van Lith scored on the dribble drive. That's something that South Carolina worked on in their shoot-around today, trying to take that away from Haley.
Those straight line drives right there. You got to be able to take them away. Got to get in your rotation, but still get out on the three-point shooters. But I like what they're doing right here to Connor, really forcing her to put the ball on the floor, getting up on her hip, not allowing the TCU guards to come off of the ball screens, making them drive into tough twos.
One shot attempt so far for Madison, who has over 200 career threes. Coming in tonight, 9 points away from 1,000 in her career. Van Lith with the miss. Here comes Raven Johnson. For Wiley. She's another player that has been cold of late that South Carolina needs to heat up. Such a tremendous talent to come off the bench for them. They'll go 10 deep. I mean, the depth is incredible. Malaysia off the hesitation and off the window.
And that's what Dawn Staley wants to see from Malaysia Fulwiley. She wants her to attack the rim. She doesn't need to play with the ball. Just get straight line drives, attack the paint. It's very difficult to stay in front of her. She is very quick off the bounce.
I like the fact, too, she's challenged her today with the opportunity to defend Van Lith. She really thinks Malaysia could be spectacular at that end as well.
She doesn't think she's reaching her potential on the defensive end of the floor, but she's so creative in her finishes. Just getting efficient in how you're attacking the basket is going to be a growth edge for her.
Here's Connor. Johnson. They'll go over the top of all the screens with her. At least that's the game plan today if she misses there.
And that's what South Carolina will live with, making her hit tough twos off the dribble. They don't want to allow any catch and shoot threes, force her to put the ball on the floor.
Fouls on Bigby, her first. This TCU defense, second best scoring defense. It's a top 10 field goal percentage defense. Number 2 in the country in blocks and number 2 in the country with their rim protection. It starts with Prince. But South Carolina challenging that, getting into the lane. For Wiley, left wide open and makes them pay.
Another one who needed to see a shot go through the bottom of the net from the three-point line. You certainly know she's capable.
It's a turnover.
But she's such a tough cover because you got to give her space. And there was miscommunication on the dive by Joyce Edwards, and Malaysia Fulwiley knocking down an open three.
Timeout for TCU. It's a 16-9 South Carolina advantage. Carolina, their last 3 games have had a double-digit lead heading into the second quarter, and they turn it over there.
You think about the difference in the teams that TCU has played. NC State didn't have a real big interior presence, so it got guard heavy. Notre Dame, another team that doesn't have a lot of interior presence, really guard heavy. South Carolina has the balance of both. Now, maybe not the size that they're used to having in the paint, but a different type of forward that can come at you in a lot of different ways. So you get in rotation, drop it off. They can rim protect in their own right. So it's a different challenge for TCU.
Connor fouled on the drive. And that'll be on Ashlyn Watkins, and that is her second personal. Yeah, for the most part, you're talking about size that's 6'3", depending on how deep they go down their bench. Gone are the days of 10 years in a row with an All-American post player in there. that have all gone on to the WNBA.
And learning how to play a different type of system while still playing true to the principles that Dawn Staley likes of scoring in the paint. You got to do it differently, right? It's not just a post entry, let them go to work. Now you've got to drive and drop and drive and kick. There are capable three-point shooters on the perimeter as well.
Watkins swatted by Prince. And then the steal by Watkins to take it right back. Prince giving chase. And Watkins with the dunk for South Carolina. The breakaway jam for Ashland. Here comes Wiley the other way. She lays it up and in. What a turn of events from the rejection. Watkins doesn't give up, runs back for the steal, and then throws one down.
That's right, gets back into play, multiple levels of effort. That's how you get more time on the floor for Dawn Staley.
And Van Lith says, we'll trade you the 2 for 3. With a shush to the crowd, Connor hustles to knock it out.
You talked about it, multiple levels of effort. Ashland Watkins gets back into play, and look at her checking for the D behind, sizing it up and throwing it down. What a play by Ashland Watkins.
Spectacular. Boy, that has created a buzz in the building.
We got some people still trickling in. The doors didn't open very early here, so lots of folks still trickling in.
Knocked away by Prince. Mark Campbell says one
time and
shot.
score. Time and score.
Van Lith says agree, coach. Two-man game, Van Lith, Prince. And she walked with it. And now 8 seconds for South Carolina to play with. Maddie McDaniel into the game for the Gamecocks, so they're running with a couple of point guards right now. Speed to get the ball up the court quickly. McDaniel weaving. She'll take it all the way. No good. Rebound, Prince. What a start to our top 10 matchup. The swipe, and then the stuff. Ashland Watkins with a rim rattler for the Gamecocks. Whew.
Ready for some life pro tips? 1.
In the building, Beth, for a little while, and then Ashland Watkins got the crowd going. Terrific defensive effort to get back into play, and then nobody in front. She throws it down. I mean, this is just an outstanding play. Got everybody a little juiced up. Now we're ready to go.
That's 6-3 off the steal. Yeah, that's right, South Carolina. What a fun start to the season. You know, the Gamecocks have watched some other teams win big this week, and now they are saying, wait, we got the audience all to ourselves on this Sunday night. Let's show them that the defending champs will still have a say in how things play out this year.
Yeah, you see her season numbers right there. This South Carolina bench accounts for 49% of the offense. For this team, they can go deep, they can give you lots of production, and they can play a lot of different versatile lineups that make it tough to defend.
There's one of those bench players, Tessa Johnson. They've already played 10 through the first quarter. The bench has outscored the starters. I mean, that's how deep they go. And really, on any given night, it could be any one of them.
And there's another starting 5. I mean, it's another starting 5 on anyone else's roster.
I'll call a travel there on Van Lith.
And Tessa Johnson just coming off the quick little pin down. Worked on this today and shoot around, no hesitation. Tessa Johnson was so big for them in the NCAA tournament a year ago. That experience, that confidence that you go into an offseason with and train with for an entire offseason. You can see it in her game.
And she was on the all-Final Four team last year in that big championship game. Pow on the drive, got it. Sonoma Prince has 1 block so far, but the paint points for South Carolina already up to 14. They have not shied away from going right at her.
They're attacking, and they're making the right reads. If she doesn't fully commit, they're going up to the rim, and if she does, dropping it off.
TCU falls under 40% shooting now, down 10. South Carolina, meanwhile, 55% shooting against one of the top defenses in the country. Pow again off the bounce, finds a shooter, Johnson. Good box out. That's an offensive foul. Connor tried to hostage dribble the defender, and too much action on it.
Well, again, South Carolina forcing Connor to attack the rim, and Pow, great job of taking the contact, selling the contact. You see the outstretched arm.
And that's the second foul now on Connor. She will stay in the game. Has not attempted a three-point shot yet tonight. One of the best in the country. Fagan, mid-range, good, right over Prince. 8 different Gamecocks have scored already. Van Lith, the lob inside to Prince, tried to one-time it, may have gotten blocked by Pow. It's Fagan with the position, and they beat the big girl down the floor. And Carolina having its way. I think there's going to be a foul there on Fagan.
When you play 10-11 deep, it allows you to play at the pace you want for 40 minutes. And South Carolina right now taking advantage in transition. Sanaya Fagan gets an easy 2. It's different when you're learning to play without a post player being the center point of your offense. For how many years did we see that? I mean, 12 years, 10, 12 years. And every game you can see the comfort level, the chemistry building, understanding what lanes to attack, when to kick it, when to score it, when to drop it.
Pow. Yeah, for certain that's opened up driving lanes. Kits. And a foul called. That foul was on Sedona Prince, her first. So Chloe Kitts to the free throw line, 83%. Hey, what a women's basketball matchup we have for you Thursday night on ESPN and the app. It's Paige Beckers and UConn taking on Hannah Hidalgo and Notre Dame from South Bend. Great early season test for both. Our coverage tips at 7 Eastern on ESPN. One of the great rivalries in college athletics. It will be their 25th top 10 matchup.
I called that game last year. It was so much fun. Hannah Hidalgo was a dog. I mean, she is a dog, but in that game, boy, she just took over. That is such a fun rivalry to watch.
They tuned up by beating Syracuse today. Their 3 stars all had 20-point double-doubles. And, of course, UConn looked really good in their win over Louisville.
And how great is it to see Azzi Fudd back on the floor?
Oh, and I hope she can get back on the floor, right? A late game injury to her. And that's going to be a travel called on Watkins underneath. UConn also has Juju Watkins and USC before the Christmas break. Of course, Gino now the winningest coach of all time, seeking a 12th national championship, and Haley Van Lith with a couple of buckets in a row. She's got 9 to lead all scorers. And that's going to be a travel.
Haley Van Lith starting to find her rhythm. Early in this ball game, shooting some off-balance shots. Now she slows down. That little hesitation to read, is the rotation coming or not, finishing with the offhand.
Well, she looks so much more comfortable, like her early days at Louisville. Mark Campbell talked about a maturity that he's only seen once before, and that was with Sabrina Ionescu when he was an assistant at Oregon. And now a little head bob to the scorer's table. 3 buckets in a row for HVL.
He talks about her work ethic. She works like a pro. She trains like a pro, and he saw that in Sabrina. And he said she sets the standard for how we work every single day. It's easy for everybody else to follow.
Kitts, offensive rebound. Johnson rattles in her second 3 of the day. Prince knocked away by Watkins. Van Lith able to save it. Connor sidesteps for a 3. Well, so far, South Carolina has been able to take away the Connor 3 and the Prince scoring inside.
Yeah, Sedona Prince hasn't gotten a lot of easy touches on the interior. Really doing a good job of using physicality. I'd like to see TCU use her a little bit more in the 2-man, having her hard dive to the rim, because if she doesn't get it, she's forcing rotation. But Haley Van Lith started to take over a little bit. She started to create some open lanes.
Van Lith now with 11 points on 5 of 8 shooting. Prince will depart. Agnes Eminopu is on, so is Aaliyah Robertson.
We got Aaliyah Boston over here calling the fouls, playing referee.
She's the official here in the courtside seats. As Fawiley will check back in here for Carolina. 7 points already for her tonight. Fawiley for 3.
Those are the ones right there I think Dawn Staley would prefer Mylasia Fawiley to attack.
Yes.
Right, it's a contested 3. She's got terrific quickness.
Nice baseline dive there, and the dump off for Connor to Robertson.
And I love this 90 cut from the baseline side right here. Every time there's a drive to the rim, the rotation comes. That dive gets you a layup, and that is a strong finish by Robertson.
Thank you, Shay. Dre. Robertson completes the 3-point play. And Raven Johnson will bring it across midcourt. Back up to a 10-point advantage for South Carolina. 8 different players have scored, as the women alluded to in the studio. Kitts, tough pass there, and here is Van Lith. Her 11 points leads all scorers. Can they hang around really without a lot of offense from Connor or Prince so far tonight? And there's another turnover. That's 8. Just 1 fewer than their 9 baskets, and Prince will come back here.
And they've got to find a way to get Sedona Prince involved in the offense. It doesn't have to be a post-entry pass. Use her in the 2-man. She's got the ability to pick and pop, to pick and dive, and more than anything, force rotation.
Wasn't expecting that pass. Johnson hits. Boy, and the growth continues for Raven. When we talked to Dawn Staley today at shoot-around, said she's coming along. You know, mentally, it's been a taxing couple of years from losing that Iowa game in the Final Four against Caitlin Clark, and then coming back for redemption last year at the Final Four against Clark.
And not just losing, Beth, but really being challenged and exposed from the 3-point line, right? And last year was her revenge tour. And a revenge tour she certainly had. But then the ability to come back and back that up. In the last 3 games, she's been shooting the ball much better. Her point production has continued to go up. So as Dawn Staley mentioned, she's coming along. She's finding it, but they certainly need more from her.
And that's the second now on Sedona Prince. So 3 of their starters with 2 fouls. And here's Fawiley to the line. From Columbia, on the all-SEC freshman team last year. Known for the spectacular, and Dawn Staley said she's learning to play all those plays in between and trying to continue her growth on this end of the floor.
She certainly said she's better than her stats have been, but you mentioned it, the growth on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, her points per 40 minutes, she's averaging 23 points per 40 minutes. She was the leading team on this team last year in the same points per 40 minutes, so she can be on the floor longer. But the responsibility to play both ends consistently is critical, and Dawn Staley has that conversation with her.
Trying to attack the zone now. Under 3 minutes to go in this first half. Bree Hall will try from outside and hit.
Bree Hall is always that player who doesn't take a lot of volume shots, but she knocks down some big ones.
TCU now facing its biggest deficit of the season. Van Lith, Fawiley went underneath. And that'll stay at this end.
And Mark Campbell switching it up to the zone. South Carolina doing a good job of shifting the zone, and then Bree Hall running free on the baseline.
That's a really good sign for South Carolina. If they are shooting more threes and making more threes than TCU, that's one of their calling cards.
It sure is, and what they're doing on the defensive end as well. I mean, TCU is a team that averages almost 22 assists a ball game. South Carolina is forcing them to play one-on-one basketball. They're not allowed right now to move the ball to get into a flow because of that defensive pressure.
Watkins, Prince made that a tough shot. And now the final 2 minutes of this first half, the first time ever that TCU is involved in a top 10 matchup. They've already picked up their first, their 2 ranked wins, including a win over #3 Notre Dame. That is the best win in program history. And this quick turnaround under Mark Campbell. But this is a whole nother breed of cat here tonight.
You went with breed of cat instead of breed of dog?
Breed of Gamecock. Oh, a clean pick by Fawiley, and she'll head the other way. More turnovers than baskets here in the first half for TCU. And South Carolina just a dominant defensive showing. Another takeaway. Bree Hall's got it. Kids
Travel.
walked with it after the high post flash.
And we talked about South Carolina's defense, and their numbers are not used to what we're seeing from a South Carolina program. And again, it's figuring it out again with no post player there protecting the paint for you. It's going to come like this, a lot of on-ball defensive discipline pressure. And Mylasia Fawiley, you said it, she's used to the spectacular plays. We're used to seeing the spectacular plays. Those consistent defensive plays is what Dawn Staley wants to see.
4 steals in this first half for South Carolina. Robertson wide open, off the mark. We're now into the final minute and a timeout for Dawn Staley. So what a show so far for the defending champs. Hey, look who we got courtside.
We got some stars in the building.
Leah Boston on the
Leah
right.
Boston.
Arike Agumbuwale on the left. Of course, Leah now on your roster in Indiana, and Arike
So excited about that. Yes.
What a terrific all-star game she had last summer.
Yeah, she lit it up a little bit, didn't she?
Going to be fun too over the winter. You have the new Unrivaled League, so that a lot of these players can stay at home instead of having to go overseas to get themselves ready for next year's WNBA season. And of course, stars all around the women's game, including 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 on Thursday night when
That's right.
Notre Dame entertains UConn. That's the next big matchup on your calendar. We'll have that for you on ESPN.
I can't wait for that one. That's going to be such an exciting game. Guard play galore.
Call. Joyce Edwards rattles it in. The freshman from Camden, South Carolina, with her first basket.
So much great young talent, but what I like most about watching Joyce Edwards is she just doesn't force anything. She's poised, she lets the game come to her, she impacts the game on both ends.
They throw the double at Van Lith, and a deflection by Raven Johnson. They tried to find Prince, nothing doing, and Edwards walked with it. 4.5 to go.
I thought she'd be bobbling that. I didn't think she had control of that one.
TCU will look to Van Lith here. Haley across midcourt, pulls up, short. Strong first half for South Carolina. They lead TCU 44-23 with a balanced effort on both ends as we send it back to the studio with Shay and Dre.
Right, they get all up in you on the perimeter. They're active, they're aggressive, multiple levels of effort. Ashlyn Watkins gets back into play, and then hold on now, throw it down on the other end. Malaysia Full-Wiley getting in on the action as well. I mean, South Carolina 17 points off of turnovers, using that defense to fuel their offense. And as Dawn Staley said, we're just learning to play a little bit differently. Their help side has been terrific, their on-ball pressure has been terrific, and that has allowed them to find advantages in the paint in transition.
How about our game track brought to you by Mercury Insurance? It was a well-balanced attack in that first half for South Carolina. Everybody got involved. They turned them over more times than they allowed TCU to score buckets. They were in transition. They were on the offensive glass. They seemed to be doing everything right. The bench, another outstanding first half with 19 points.
And for the 7th time this season, have held an opponent to single digits in a quarter, holding TCU to 9 points in that second quarter.
So now let's see how TCU responds. The Horned Frogs facing the biggest deficit for them this season as they come in 9-0. Quiet first halves for Sedona Prince and Madison Connor. Let's see if they get things going here to help out Van Lith, who was their only double-digit scorer in the first half.
And South Carolina just really doing a good job of not allowing TCU to move the basketball. And there's another turnover.
Raven Johnson on the drive, offensive foul. That was Van Lith taking the charge.
Well, getting back into play, doing a great job of absorbing the contact. This is a TCU team, again, that averages almost 22 assists a game. They have 5. 5 assists. They're not making shots. They average almost over 10 made threes a game. They've got 2. So just not getting what they're used to getting, and you got to give South Carolina defense a ton of credit for that.
There's a pick and roll action for Prince, assisted by Van Lith.
And I like that, the empty side. Nobody on the backside. Allow those two to go to work.
Kitts and Fagan. She stays in the game with 3 fouls. Pow Pow on the drive with Prince pulled away from the rim. Gets the layup.
South Carolina likes that action where they throw it off the block just a little bit, set the split screen for Pow Pow to come off with a 3-point shooting opportunity or a rim attack.
Big Beat gets it back from Prince. Long rebound to Hunter, and then Johnson with the quick hands. Numbers here for Carolina. Pow Pow wants it, gave it up, now we'll try for 3.
Got to take that first one in rhythm.
Connor in traffic, And it'll stay at this end. Well, the coaches love these kind of games because you're going to learn a lot about yourselves. I think that UCLA loss out in Westwood was a bit of a wake-up call. It's been a different Carolina team since then. Perhaps the same thing goes for TCU here tonight.
Well, it's a different level of physicality that TCU is facing. And when you're a team that relies on rhythm and timing and movement and sharing the basketball, and a team gives some physicality out on the perimeter, not allowing you to go where you want to go, forcing you to put your head down and put the ball on the floor, it takes you out of your comfort zone.
Fagan just picked up her 4th foul, so a starter out here for South Carolina. Hunter. And Hunter from Van Lith. Kitts has it. Chloe's been dynamite the last couple of games, but they've been so balanced tonight. That's her 8th rebound, however. Watkins, bothered on the shot by Prince. Van Lith wanted the 2-man game with Prince. Had a shooter weak side as well.
She did, and Bigby had a 45-degree cut right to the rim for a layup.
Boy, if you're a Carolina fan, you're loving the offense from Raven Johnson and Malaysia Fawiley trying to bust out of slumps tonight.
Now Raven Johnson, her 3rd three, 7 for 13 in the last 3 games from the three-point line. She is certainly finding it.
TCU, the drought to end the first half. And a slow start to the second. Knocked out of bounds by Prince.
South Carolina able to push transition off of missed shots as well as turnovers, and Raven Johnson started making her first 3 of the ball game and has been hot ever since.
Fawiley, tough shot. Out of bounds by Raven Johnson. It's been a struggle tonight to figure out the passing lanes against a much quicker bunch of perimeter defenders. A lot of turnovers from the backcourt. Van Lith, Watkins stuffs that and takes it right away. Already with a big dunk in the first half for Ashlyn Watkins. I think the other thing too, Stephanie, we're seeing there is still in this day of transfer portals something to be said for teams that stay together, that players that stick around 3 or 4 years together to execute the way that South Carolina is tonight. And there's a reach-in foul.
You're absolutely right, and not just as far as continuity and chemistry, but also development, right? The opportunity to develop, to go through some of the hard times, to understand what it means to sacrifice for the greater good of the team. And we mentioned it, 10 players on this South Carolina roster that get heavy minutes, right? That are in rotation. You know, 5 players that come off the bench that could be starters other places. But there's a bigger picture.
There's a sacrifice involved.
There's a sacrifice involved, and they understand the sacrifice to win. They understand the sacrifice to develop, to be prepared for the next level.
And to be prepared for the postseason.
And I also credit these players, these young players, and their families and the people that are around them, because they're being coached, they're being challenged, they're being held accountable in a way that sometimes in this day and age, young people don't want to be.
Connor with the pull-up 3. Kitts, it's a one-and-done trip. They have held Connor without a basket so far tonight. For Wiley, doesn't get the bounce. And now some numbers here for TCU. And another takeaway, Watkins, and the breakout for Wiley. Sometimes it's the decision making too. Yes. She had a drop off to Haley Van Lith to her right there for a wide open transition three.
And the timing of the decision making.
Yep. Short on the shot and a whistle.
But you mentioned the struggles for Madison Connor. This tremendous defensive effort, keeping her off balance, not allowing her to do what she wants to do. This swarming defensive effort for South Carolina continuing in the third quarter. Another easy two for the Gamecocks.
You already know us. USLBM's trusted local divisions are your friends, family, and neighbors. We're proud to supply the essential materials needed to build homes and communities across the country, to provide a helping hand when we're needed most. We're proud of our legacy, but our focus is firmly on the future. Building materials, building community.
Against Duke, where she was 1 for 7 from the floor with 3 points, has found it a little bit here tonight, attacking the rim, knocking it down from 3, getting it done on the defensive end as well. And Raven Johnson, she's been slowly climbing in terms of her numbers from the field, and she started off hot and has stayed hot here from the three-point line tonight for the Gamecocks. Don Stanley talked about both of them today. We certainly need them to be better. They have answered the call.
Yeah, shooting a combined 53% from the floor, trying to bust out of their slumps and head into the holiday break. I mean, it's just been so impressive on both ends of the floor. An 18-2 run. The defense has allowed 1 TCU field goal in the last 10+ minutes. And there was a 5-minute scoring drought in the second quarter, and now approaching a 5-minute scoring drought here in the third. It's a mature team. They got their scouting report today at shoot-around, and they have executed it.
And they were loose.
Yep.
You know, they were loose in shoot-around. They were on point in their execution. In fact, there was one drill they moved on a little early because they were getting it done so well, and you would have thought, I mean, everybody was happy about that. But it is, and it's a growth process, and sometimes, and you mentioned it, a loss like the one that they had to UCLA, and UCLA played so well, and UCLA is an NCAA title contender, locks you back into focus a little bit, gives you a reality check.
UCLA, after that win, skyrocketed to #1 in the polls. He picked up, hard to say, they picked up a Big Ten win today over Washington. The new world we live in. Hey, it's the 30th annual Jimmy V Classic, and it returns to Madison Square Garden Tuesday night on ESPN and the app. Miami taking on Tennessee, then Michigan and Arkansas, John Calipari's bunch. Always a great night for a great cause. To donate to the Jimmy V Foundation, go to v.org. Godfrey from the corner, knocks that down. An assist for Van Lith, her 4th. Powell, got it.
When you're putting a scouting report together, those teams that have like a big 3.
I don't, you
right?
do.
Well, yeah, when we put a scouting report
Coach
together,
White does.
You know, you think about those teams that have like a big 2, the tandems, right, or the big 3s that you have to really make sure that you're preparing for, and you take some things away from them and you force everybody else to beat you. But when you've got 10 deep, and you never know where it's going to come from night in and night out, and you've got players who come off the bench like Joyce Edwards, Ashlyn Watkins, Mylasia Full-Wiley, it makes it really tough in terms of preparation. Then you have to rely on your principles, right? Defensive principles, defensive coverages, communication, all of those things. And that is why the depth, the athleticism, the versatility that South Carolina has with this roster.
Yep.
I mean, this is a team that can run it back.
No doubt. And the coaching continues for Staley with Edwards at the free throw line, the #2 recruit coming out of high school this year, behind UConn's Sarah Strong, who had another good effort in the Huskies win over Louisville. Don't forget, Thursday night, UConn at Notre Dame. An early Christmas present for everybody. Connor off the crossover. And the pick for Wiley. Well, one thing you know that TCU's going to take a look back at this film and realize they've got to do a much better job against the perimeter pressure. Look at how far Watkins is able to push Prince away from the rim.
And look at how stagnant the offense is. I mean, this is an offense that relies heavily on ball screen, but you're not going to get it on first side of action. Not going to get it on first side of action against a good defensive team. So you got to find ways to get to the backside. And this is a long cross-court pass. Those are pick sixes all day long.
15 for Malaysia now. TCU has already hit their season high, 17 turnovers, and we've still got a full quarter to go. Tough fade by Watkins over the shot blocker. Boy, is it going to be fun to watch these teams throughout the regular season. Already a ton of upsets around the country. Certainly looks like, you know, maybe there are 2 or 3 teams near the top, but how many, 10, 12 that would have a shot at the championship?
Parity, the depth. Be interesting to see how conference relocation it impacks. Certainly different to think about, as you just mentioned, UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon in the Big Ten, and Cal and Stanford in the ACC.
Well, we've already seen, too, the emergence of teams like TCU. How about Maryland, still undefeated? How about Michigan State? Another win today. They're still undefeated.
And the movement that happens because of the transfer portal, and you get players like at Maryland. Sailor Poffenberger had a big game. Talaysia Cooper at Tennessee is playing outstanding basketball.
Hey, welcome back to the top 25, by the way. I think that's a shoe-in tomorrow
I think it is.
For the Lady Vols.
Talking about a team that forced 30 turnovers, 42 points off of those turnovers against Iowa.
30 turnovers in 40 minutes.
Yes, but that's a team in Tennessee that's 94 feet the entire 40 minutes. Hockey substitutions, deep roster.
That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for Ken Caldwell's bunch as they move into the SEC. Off to a terrific start, that's for sure. The big win over Iowa this week. Perhaps one last possession here for South Carolina in the third. McDaniel. Edwards, the spin for the shot and gets the bounce. Buzzer beater for South Carolina.
She's been coaching up her team. She's been coaching up the officials. I know that she works in television, but I do think coaching could be in the future as well.
Story of this one, the balanced attack offensively, but the defense for South Carolina has really been smothering. They held TCU to their lowest scoring quarter, 9 points in the second, and then they matched it in the third. Lowest scoring quarters all season for TCU, and it's been that kind of a frustrating night. The turnovers, a huge part of the story, and they have held Sedona Prince and Madison Connor in check, and even Haley Van Lith, who was good in that first half, scoreless in the third.
Yeah, the primary ball handlers, and TCU is a team that really has done a great job, second in the nation in assist-to-turnover ratio. For Madison Connor and Haley Van Lith combined for 13 here tonight, and South Carolina's just put the pressure on them.
Three-pointer for Tessa.
And it's not just the pressure, it's their length, it's their speed, it's their quickness, it's their physicality, it's their ability to recover and close down gaps quickly. This is going to be a really good film session for Mark Campbell and his coaching staff to be able to talk about timely deliveries, not being tunnel vision on drives to the rim, being willing to have multiple ball reversals in a possession.
Connor will check out 0 for 7 tonight for her. This is the second unit for South Carolina, which could be the starting 5 in most other places. That's the kind of depth they have played with to open up the season. Pow, pow, behind the back, and the teardrop.
We haven't called her name very often, here this evening, but Tahina Paopao returned to South Carolina for another year to continue to develop. Dawn Staley talked about her development, particularly on the defensive end of the floor, but that as well. When she was at Oregon, we saw her as a primary ball handler. She attacked the rim a lot, scored in the 2-point buckets, as Sedona Prince gets one right there. But a year ago for South Carolina was more of just a spot-up 3-point shooter. So adding that again to her arsenal, the ability to attack off the bounce, the ability to get 2 feet in the paint, is that next level, 3-level development for her.
Got to be able to adapt, got to be able to grow, because the defense is going to run out at her. And a foul there on Donovan Hunter. Adele Tack, the 6'5" redshirt freshman from Grand Prairie, Texas, checks in for Carolina to applause. Hey, what a matchup we've got for you. Don't forget, Thursday night should already be on your calendar on ESPN. UConn and Notre Dame. Coverage tips at 7 Eastern. Beckers and hopefully Fudd and Strong, Hidalgo and Olivia Miles, Sonia Citron. How about the 3 Fighting Irish, all with 20-point double-doubles today against Syracuse?
A 3-headed monster. Great to see Olivia Miles back on the floor, playing terrific basketball, and the ability to have versatility with Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo. Primary ball handlers, secondary ball handlers.
There's your top 10. It'll change a bit tomorrow. The new poll comes out every Monday. Of course, Texas picked up a loss this week, but then followed it up with a win. And TCU will suffer a loss here tonight. It's been a heck of a start, though, around Fort Worth, as you can see by the crowd. An amazing turnout to watch this team beating ranked opponents, moving into the top 10, all uncharted territory for this program. And hungry for success under Mark Campbell. Johnson, Prince bothered that shot. And we talked about it at the top of the program, Stephanie. South Carolina's the gold standard. They play these type of games every night. They compete for national championships. TCU is part of the new crowd that brings in a lot of transfers, that they try to find the chemistry quickly and win quickly, which they've been able to do in the first 2 seasons under Campbell.
Well, and winning quickly gives you opportunity to get in on some of those recruits that you might not have been able to get in on before. But at the same time, it's a veteran group, and this kind of lopsided loss for TCU, I mean, they're competitive. They're going to go back. They're going to look and see the things on the film that they need to continue to work on and grow on. But a lot like NC State a year ago, the surprise team in the country has been TCU. So you get knocked in the mouth, then it's how do you respond?
Last year, NC State went from unranked to the Final Four. TCU hoping to follow a similar path. They were unranked in the preseason this year. Oh, what a burst by McDaniel to get to the rim. Dawn Staley was preaching with the guards today at shoot-around. Go right at her, go right into her. Get into the body, don't bob and weave your way to the rim. Attack it, and they've done that tonight. That's the 3rd foul on Prince. And are they excited about Maddie McDaniel? When Dawn calls you the consummate point guard. I don't know if there's a higher compliment than that.
And the word reliable. Reliable, consistent. You know what you're going to get every single day. You have the confidence to put her out there in different situations. She's continuing to learn and grow from one of the best point guards to ever play the game.
Foul will be on Adele Tack. Wiley will come back in for Pow Pow as Van Lith goes to the free throw line. 78% shooter, playing in her 144th game here tonight. Don't forget, by the way, the Gamecocks will headline next Sunday's triple header on the SEC Network. It starts at noon Eastern. They host USF from Colonial Life Arena in Columbia. Coverage tips at 2 Eastern. Of course, for I think 10 years running now, that has been the #1 attendance home team in women's college hoops. They got a lot of folks watching at home too. If you dare look on social media during a South Carolina game.
I don't.
Everybody's
I don't
a coach
dare
and
look on
everybody's a referee.
social media hardly anymore.
They love their South Carolina basketball. Hunter. Tough shot. There goes Aaliyah Boston.
Talking to the officials.
Yep, first as a referee, then as a cheerleader.
Yeah, and coach talking good rotation.
That's got to be a source of pride, isn't it, when you hear your former players
Oh, yeah.
that involved and that aware of the high basketball IQ?
Absolutely. And she was just in town supporting South Carolina in their game against Duke as well. So #1 fan, #1 alum.
For Wiley with a nice move to the bucket.
Look at how they're swarming on Stona Prince on the inside, and the first 3 for Madison Connor.
There's a breakthrough for her. For Wiley, tried to feed Tack. Van Lith gets into the lane.
She just had to work so hard. I mean, she got that burst in the first quarter where she was taking over for a little while, but South Carolina's made her work for everything. She's having to dribble multiple times in every possession.
She had hit 3 straight baskets in that run, but only 2 buckets since. As we approach the 5-minute mark here in this 4th and final quarter. McDaniel tried to get the end one. 4:56 to play. South Carolina in control.
Hard in there somewhere, right?
I mean, Doe is the, I've always been a fan of Lisa, quite honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
What, do you have one in mind?
I don't.
No.
No, I don't. It's been such a long time.
It's been
Not like the Seinfeld reference.
no,
you know,
I got those
yeah.
ready to go. Instant. No. Lisa will be on the sideline for Monday Night Football tomorrow with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. As McDaniel gets to the free throw line. Here's the thing too, when you have this kind of depth and when you have the ability to take out a ranked team like this, you got fresh legs. I only think there's one starter that averages over 25 minutes. And another takeaway. On the run for Wiley, lays it up and in.
And the improvement. So a game ago against Duke, South Carolina pulled their starters. They were up 20 heading into the fourth quarter. Duke cut the lead down. Dawn Staley sending a message, substituted 5 more in, right? Having this conversation about what it takes, the sense of urgency that it takes, the detail, the consistency that it takes game in and game out.
Van Lith with the nice runner.
Every moment an opportunity to learn, to grow.
All on the road to the women's Final Four. And of course, we'll have all the action for you throughout the postseason. Regionals in Birmingham and Spokane this year. Final Four down in Tampa.
Return to some warm weather.
Oh yeah, that's always good.
Yes, it is.
Prince will check out. She's getting ready for some big showdowns in the paint around the Big 12.
Sure is.
Van Lith comes with the double and a held ball. TCU picked to finish 4th behind K-State, Iowa State, and Baylor, all with strong front lines. Tessa Johnson, quick to pull that trigger. Van Lith, this time goes to the left side for the lay-in. Haley now with 19, has 6 assists. And that's going to be a Van Lith foul. And more of Maddie McDaniel at the free throw line.
Maddie McDaniel is pretty shifty. She does a good job of attacking, finishing strong with contact, getting herself to the free throw line. She plays with great pace.
3rd-rated point guard in this year's class. Out of the DC area, she was the Maryland Player of the Year. Doesn't have a bucket, but she is 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Deja Merrill now into the ball game for TCU. As is Miriam Dowda. She gets the rebound there for the Gamecocks. Dowda.
And you can see Dawn Staley shoot the first one. When you're in the rhythm, take the rhythm shot.
And let's can't get that one to go. Merrill with a rebound. Van Lith off the bounce and a foul. That'll be on Dowda. So Van Lith to the line.
Talked about those South Carolina fans watching on television. There's pretty good contention here.
They travel
They
well.
do travel well.
Well, it's just incredible what Dawn Staley has been able to build, not only with that incredible environment at home, but, you know, some rock star status when they're on the road. They get so much attention, and deservedly so, from not only South Carolina fans, but fans of the opposition that have been watching their success.
Women's basketball fans.
Yep.
Right? Women's basketball fans in general.
Everywhere you go now, there's a little kid holding up a sign, "Hey, Coach Staley, it's my birthday. Can I get a picture?" Those 3 national championships, 5-time National Coach of the Year. Played and won Olympic gold, coached the United States to Olympic gold.
And I know it's been a long time because she's in her 17th season in South Carolina, but where this program was when she inherited it.
Yep.
And how she built it step by step, staying so true to the types of players that she wanted to coach, the ways in which she wanted to develop not just talent, but develop young women, the consistency with which she's done it with Lisa Boyer right by her side the entire time. I mean, it's just been really, really incredible to watch.
And cultural icon as well, with her haute couture. There once was a day around the SEC, you know, Pat Summitt's closet, legendary. You hardly, I don't think you ever saw Pat wear the same thing twice. And Dawn has continued that tradition of looking spectacular on the sideline. Is that a little Louis Vuitton tonight? Yes.
And I like how the staff compliments in the background, you know. The staff sweatshirts are complementary colors.
Yes. Final 2 minutes of this one. And we finally get a Balenciaga reference on the air. But what a showing, a statement really for South Carolina to do this against a top 10 foe. That the defending champs will be a force to be reckoned with as the season progresses, for sure. The balance was there. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? 12 have gotten into the game. 10 have scored. For Wiley with a rejection.
You could just see her running down the floor, getting ready to time this the entire time. She's checking it, she's timing it. No change in pace from Robertson, and then the big smile afterward.
Big day for her offensively as well, with 20 points, busting out of a bit of a slump for her. Same thing for Raven Johnson, 11 points, but didn't really play a whole lot in this second half. Chloe Kitts, 12 rebounds. That's the sign, right, of a mature team. Even on a night when you're not counted on to score a lot, you're doing the other things that your team needs.
It's also a sign in the clarity of roles. Dawn Staley having these conversations, helping these young players understand that you don't have to score to impact winning. What making winning plays and being a good teammate and a winning culture is about.
Stick around, by the way. We hope that we'll be able to talk with Malaysia for Wiley post-game here courtside after the impressive showing tonight. And, then we'll get you ready for Thursday night. Notre Dame hosting UConn, the next big matchup in women's basketball, 7 Eastern on ESPN. 3 ball is good from Bigby. And that should do it. Shot clock now off. And the Gamecock fans on their feet applauding this big road win. 85-52, your final. As number 3 South Carolina takes down number 9 TCU. The Horned Frogs suffer their first loss of the season. They'll fall to 9-1. South Carolina will improve to 9-1.
Continuing the trend of defensive statements, strong start to this ball game. After the first few games of the season, slow starts, strong starts. You can see the team is continuing to gel on the offensive end of the floor, find their roles, find their rhythm, find their spots, and defensively getting back to what we're used to seeing from South Carolina teams on the defensive end.
Also, by the way, we'll throw in the dunk from Ashlyn Watkins. That was pretty fun in the first half.
Got the crowd going. A little quiet in here until that happened. Put a little life in the building.
And there's another look at it. If you missed it, probably all over SportsCenter in the morning. Watkins, look at her getting the steps right. And getting there ahead of Sedona Prince for the throwdown. And that was the exclamation point that actually came in the first half. And it's all South Carolina after that. And a well-balanced attack. So 12 get into the game, 10 score. None scored better than Malaysia Fawiley, though, who now is able to join us courtside. Huh. And we're getting the microphone ready. How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. You weren't shooting it as well as you had liked the last few games. What was the difference for you tonight in getting that confidence back out there?
You know, I just told myself it started in practice and my defense. I'm not just a scorer. I'm not just a shooter. I'm a great defender, and I just had to apply myself to doing that, and I think I did that.
Coach Staley talked about your energy and effort on the defensive end and continuing to challenge you on the defensive end. So what's it like for you to absorb that and then go out and perform it?
You just got to be very disciplined. I feel like me as a player, staying humble is like a very good thing that I need to do, and don't get too high with my high and too low with my lows. I didn't have the best games the couple of past games, so I just kept telling myself that I got a whole season ahead of me, and I got to keep pushing. I got to find a way.
Obviously, we've seen so much spectacular play from you, and Coach Staley says you're learning to play all those plays between and do it on both ends. What was your assessment of the defensive side tonight? You guys were able to really turn them over a lot and make it a problem.
I think we all just told ourselves that with the guards, we told ourselves that we had to apply pressure. Our pressure is something that other teams never seen before, and we had to go out there and execute that. And I feel like me, Raven Johnson, Pow, Tessa Johnson, Breezy Hall, we all came out there on the same page, and it worked great for us.
This team has been on a journey this season to come in here and beat a top 10 opponent in a neutral arena, but in their home city. What's that like for you guys?
It's just bringing us another step closer to our main goal and getting us ready to prepare to play in, where's the championship? In Tampa. Yeah, in Tampa. So it's going to be more electrifying than this was today, and this is just motivating us and getting us prepared for games like that.
What's a treat for Ashlyn Watkins when she gets back on campus?
Right.
Is she ever going to have to buy a meal again after that dunk?
Absolutely not, bro. I knew she was going to do. I was so happy, so excited. She do it every day in practice, actually. Yeah. So we knew she was going down dunk that after she got blocked. We was like, oh yeah, she's hyped up now, and that just lit us up really.
She sure was, and that was really the turning point of this one. South Carolina pulls away for the big win on the road against TCU. Thank you so much, Malaysia.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next weekend, actually, on SEC Network. South Carolina will face USF. 85-52. You want to call the dunk?
Huh?
You want to call the dunk?
Yeah. Hey. I'm done.
Thank you, Malaysia. We appreciate it. Hey, for Stephanie White, Malaysia, our entire crew, I'm Beth Moen. So long from Fort Worth, Texas. Coming up next, it's the Studio Show with Shea Cornett.
Other teams, you know, your opponent, you know, there's really nothing your defense can do because they probably create numbers from our bad shots. Here in the middle.
Coach, I know you pride yourself on playing these tough non-conference schedules. I'm curious, what made you want to play TCU in this game? What's some of your first impressions of them and how far that program has gone in your coach now?
Well, it actually wasn't up to us who we played. We committed to playing here, not knowing who it would be. I thought it would be fitting once they decided it was TCU, with how they're playing, the type of season they have, the team that they have. I think it's great for women's basketball to have as many people on the Sunday night show up. So I just thought it was, you know, another, for us, a great top 10 matchup, and we brought our A game.
We'll sit here in the front and then go to the back corner. How much is it being for the game of women's basketball? You know, as your program has risen to this elite spot, to have some of these non-traditional powers in the top 10 and the top 25 annually, what can that do for the encompassing view of the sport?
Women's basketball is here. Like, it's not coming, it's arrived. Like, I mean, every arena that we played in has been packed. And, you know, it is, we're in high demand. So you could probably schedule a game on the moon. There will be people going to a women's basketball game on the moon. I'm happy for our game. It's long overdue. It's televised. It is. I mean, this is the place that we've always envisioned ourselves. Like we've always envisioned ourselves. Maybe some other people didn't have this kind of vision, but the players and the coaches and the fans, they envision us being here. So there's no turning back.
On the right side?
Hey Coach, Maya from Slam. Quick question for you. I know how much the community means to you wherever you go, but to have Cedar Hills band here and hear that you selected them, just wanted your thoughts on it and what that meant to you for them to be here as well.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for bands. I mean, they don't get enough credit, and I'm always supporting our band. Every time we win in the AA tournament or we advance regionally, I mean, they are the music behind. I mean, a lot of people have DJs now. You know, I'm an advocate for DJs as well. But when you're hearing a band and you know how much they put into their craft, it's a beautiful thing to hear and to see, and it's just natural for there to be a band at a sporting event.
In the middle, second row?
Hey, Don, Steve Hung with the EP. I know you've seen Ashlyn do that before with the dog. Talk about that, but just the play she made to lead to that.
Yeah, I don't know what she did to steal. She poked the ball away. Yeah. And I mean, Ashlyn's been practicing dunks for the past couple of practices, and we always kid her that she doesn't have her legs anymore. She can't dunk anymore. And she actually was in shoot around today, dunking and missing. And then she makes a play like that, and I knew she cleared her runway. She got to the left side of the floor, and I knew she was going to attempt it. I mean, Prince was kind of closely behind her, so I didn't think she was going to do it, but then when she did it, I mean, the place exploded. Our bench exploded, and I think it's great for our game.
In the back.
Jamie Puckett, 24/7 Sports. South Carolina just hired a new athletics director recently from the school that you just played. Have you had a chance to talk to Jeremiah Donati yet? And what has his message been to you?
No, I just met him once. I met him before our game. There wasn't really a whole lot of time to just chit chat. I did text him when we got here just to see if his schedule was open to either, come to a shoot around. I don't think he's able to. Probably wouldn't be the best to come to the game for some reason or another. So I mean, Mark just told me the reason why their program is where it is. Mark, TCU coach, is where it is today is because of his contributions to his team. But he's like that with every team on campus. So we're looking forward to having him and welcoming him, and hopefully TCU will find somebody equally as great as AD Jeremiah Donati.
Anything else for Coach Staley? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Coach.
Well, that was a tough game, you guys, but this game served its purpose. You schedule South Carolina in order to test yourself and learn where you're at this point of the season against the best program in college basketball. And this game, we learned a lot, and just the physicality, the toughness, they impose their will on you, and to feel that and go against it, it lets us know between now and March we got to get a lot better, and we got to grow in those areas. And credit South Carolina for doing a heck of a job today and playing a great game, and they made us uncomfortable, and they imposed their will, and we couldn't get in any offensive rhythm. We're one of the best passing teams in the country, and we never got settled enough to truly create for each other. And everything was just really, really difficult today. And so, great learning lesson. I'm thankful for this opportunity. I'm thankful for Fort Worth and the basketball community that came out to support this team and create a great environment. And we'll watch the film and learn and grow and get better and keep moving.
It's really hard to prepare for that level of physicality. What adjustments do you think you can make going forward as you look ahead?
Yeah, it is really hard. I mean, we played NC State and Notre Dame that are two really good teams, and they weren't this. And so you can't really, you gotta go compete and lace them up and play against it and feel it. You can't duplicate this in practice, especially their depth. They got 10 bodies. that are all big, strong, and talented and deep. And so the only way to really learn from it is to play these kind of games. And so I'm thankful that Coach Staley was willing to bring her team here on a neutral site and come compete, even though it's not a neutral site.
You mentioned the physicality. South Carolina's length also looked like it was pretty disruptive. 20 turnovers and they got 30 points off of those. Again, what was it about that length that made things difficult tonight?
Yeah, defensively, one, they do a great job obviously preparing their team. They're long and athletic, and they got all sorts of tips, deflections, and got those things lead to transition buckets. But that's controllable. That they expose something. It's not going to be easy. You do got to pivot. You got to ball fake. You got to be able to get open and swing the ball. And we weren't able to do that. And that's credit to them. At the same time, that's controllable. That's an area we're going to get better at. And so I'm thankful for that learning experience. Even though it's painful and no fun, I'm thankful for that.
Sedona didn't have kind of her normal stat line. Was it something that they were doing? You mentioned the physicality and things like that, or did you just feel like she just wasn't on tonight?
Yeah, Sedona struggled, and I'll take the blame. Obviously didn't do a good enough job finding ways to get her the ball. We didn't do a good enough job helping her, and so we need her to play better. But I'll take the blame and got to figure out how to use her better in these type of games so that she can have a bigger impact.
Haley, you guys have a long time, a week before you play another game. What's kind of your message to your team? How do you guys bounce back after this?
Yeah, I mean, we had to have a positive response. It's early in the season, and, we had a lot of self-inflicted wounds in this game that were we just played on our heels, and we let them be the aggressor all game long. And, that's something we can fix. So that's the good part about it. We can have a mindset shift. We're going to watch the film. We're going to learn from this, and, we're going to get better, and hopefully we get another shot at a game like this later down the road.
You talk about playing on your heels. Why do you feel like you guys were on your heels tonight, not able to take a step forward?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big game. It was, on TV. We have a new group that hasn't experienced a ton of these moments together yet. And so I think we got a lot of actions that we normally get, and we just were a little off. Our shots were a little off. We threw the pass a little too late. Just things like that where I think the moment got the best of us a little bit too. But, they're a really athletic defensive team, and they caused some problems for us. So it was a combination of them and us, but, we need to control what we can control on our end.
Haley, the physicality has been mentioned. From your standpoint, just what did you see and experience with the physicality side?
Yeah, they made all my catches tough. They got in me. They were trying to displace me all game. They were trying to speed me up. And, I figured it out a little bit in the second half. Obviously, not enough. But it happens, and all I can do is learn from it and be better for my team. I can't have 5 turnovers in the first half. I can't do that for us to be good. So, I'll get better. I'll learn from it. I had some good reads and some bad reads, so we're going to take the good with the bad and get better and move on.
Mark, you talked about watching film, getting better from this game. How do you make sure you don't overcorrect or spend too much time after a loss like this?
Yeah, whether you win this game or lose this game, it's one game, and you got to show up and keep working. And so very realistic of where we're at, 10 games into the year, with 6 new players, and realistic of we got punched in the mouth today, and you take it with a grain of salt and you learn from it, but it's one game, and you don't overanalyze it, but to get to where I think this group can get, this is a great experience to get to learn from it. You can't duplicate this in practice. So this is healthy. It's good for our growth and for our journey this season.
Any final questions? All right.